United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let me first apologize to all those who have been waiting for me at 7:30. We have a lot to do in discussion in executive session, so my apologies. With that being said, 3.2, public comments on agenda items. A total of 30 minutes at the beginning of each board meeting is set aside to allow public comments on agenda items only. Public comments at the beginning of the meeting are limited to items of the agenda. Person who wishes to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting must state their name and specific agenda items on which they wish to speak. Individual comments on agenda items within 3 minutes and are welcome. Based on the open meeting law and board policy 1230, debate or dialogue with or response from board members or staff are not allowed during the meeting. Complaints or complaints about student discipline, specific students' issues, or personnel must not be addressed during public comment. Comments or questions submitted to the use of a public comment form will be sent to the appropriate staff member who will provide a response on the district public comment response webpage. To address items related to a school district that are not on tonight's agenda, another comment period is applied at the end of the meeting for that purpose. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, clapping, booing, or any disturbance or destruction during either public comment period is not permitted at this time. Comments related to agenda items are welcome. Please state your name and the agenda items you are speaking on. Anyone come forward to address any comment on the agenda? Seeing none. Comment on committee reports on board representatives. Capital improvement, co-chaired by Social and Mr. McFarland. And Mr. McFarland is not here. Eddie, you got the floor.
Thank you, President Lumia. Just real quick updates on the expanded Phase 4 projects that we're working on for the summer at Fishkill Plains Elementary. We have new sidewalk, the asphalt sidewalks are completed. We reconfigured the exit area with the catch basin where we had some water issues. Also, we had some interior work being done with regards to the flooring. Abatement took place, no issues there, and new flooring is being installed. Anticipate, obviously, both the exterior and interior projects to be completed by the end of the month. Same thing over at Sheaf Road, sidewalks have been installed. Excuse me, the asphalt sidewalks have been installed. Again, the abatement for the flooring that came up with no issues and new tile going down. Again, we're on schedule to be completed by the end of the month for the reopening of school. Here at RCK, the staircases back by the gymnasium, the exit for the hallway, as well as the main staircase has been replaced. It is roped off. I still think they have some final things to be done, but again, that should be completed by the end of the month. Just another quick update on Patriot Way, which is the new drop-off at John Jay High School. The work is, I have to commend the town and DOT. Work has been ongoing every single day. Hopefully that project with the new roundabout should be completed sometime in the fall. Then we could be looking at utilizing the drop-off hopefully after the new year, quote-unquote, weather permitting on our side. So good progress over there. Also, the other quick update on the new sub pumps. They've been ordered. We anticipate delivery within the next week or so and have those installed as well by the end of the month before school opens. Also, with the new welding booths at Van Wyck and Wapaton Junior High, we did order tables and fireproof doors. We also anticipate that within the next week or two, and obviously to be installed by the end of the month and ready for September. And that's pretty much it. I'm just happy to say that our summer projects, everybody is working really great, getting everything done. We're on target to have everything completed and ready to go by opening of school.
Just a comment. I'm really glad to see a good job done at Sheaf Road. The paving is exceptional. So thank you, Mr. Gross, for an excellent job, as well as the stands with softball. They're really nice. Okay, one more to go, so thank you. With that, Ms. Kellen, policy.
The policy committee met on July 26th. Attending were Keith Odoms, Marie Johnson, John Lumia, Alberta Pedro, Kristen Crandall, and myself. The actions we took was, first of all, to recommend retiring the policy on citizens advisory committees, since that is already covered in policy 2250 on board committees in general, and that was retired at the last board meeting. The other actions were we revised the policy on contracting for professional services to be in accord with current practices and clarified the policy on naming facilities. Both those policies are up for second reading tonight.
Okay, thank you. New York State School Board Association Summer Law Conference. Thank you. New York State School Board Association Summer Law Conference. Anybody want to go ahead, Peggy?
Okay. All right, I'll let Marie speak also, and Mr. Morgan, because they attended. I attended it virtually, and Ms. Johnson attended it on Long Island, and Mr. Morgan at Albany. So chime in, we'll do it all together. They addressed the teacher shortages and the requirements for teachers, including the extensions they're giving, not only for teachers, but other school employees who have retired because of the shortage, that they can come back without penalty to their pension for a year. Also, they discussed it APPR and changes and modifications to that. School safety, including the ability to install panic alarms and to designate schools as facilities that are not open for firearms except by law enforcement personnel. They discussed FOIL requests and the requirements and clarifications there, collective bargaining issues, and recent court rulings. And if you would, if Ms. Johnson and Mr. Morgan would like to add anything specific?
Want me to go first? There was quite a few new laws that are in the works or coming down the pike that we were able to go over. I want to say that there was a lot of information. I now have a book about 2 inches thick of information. Several things were some laws that came through. I know that one of the big things that's out there is electric vehicles. That is supposedly down the pike in the laws, and it just brought up some more questions which we will be addressing as a board for information going forward, because it's something you can't just go out and buy. So I don't expect it to be on any bus proposal in the next year or two, because we have way too much information to look at before we can go into that situation.
But I think we've gotten a good overview. I found the review of recent court rulings particularly interesting. I was also, glad that none of those rulings pertain to us. It seems like the district has done a good job of steering clear of some of those issues. The new laws that Marie mentioned, other than one that Peggy alluded to with regard to firearms on school campuses, which was passed during the special session that the governor called people back. These are, there are a lot of laws that have been passed that have future implementation dates that are not necessarily new, but will feel new to our school community, even though they may have been passed even in previous calendar years. Thank you.
Next is the Mid-Hudson School Study Council. Dave, Dan, and Darren, people who's there, Mr. Morgan, Marie Johnson, Dr. Bond, and Peggy. I'm sorry?
Mike?
Okay.
Anyway, the mic, I think my voice is projected, so but obviously not. In any way, it's Mid-Hudson Study School Council. Darren Aquino is the president, Mr. Morgan, Marie Johnson, Dr. Bond, and Peggy Kelly. Does anybody want to address that? Peggy, want to address?
The reason we went to more than one summer law conference is because there was so much changes in the law and court rulings and state regulations that they don't cover everything in one conference. Even though this one was a full day one and the NISBA one was also full day or 2 half days if you did it virtually the way I did. And so we learned a lot of additional things. They discussed the legal ramifications of the COVID response and the changes, and we were just told today that the virtual meeting flexibility has been extended through a few more days. So that all these things keep changing, and we have to stay up to date on them. As part of the policy committee especially, we have to know what we're doing, hopefully. Okay, they also discussed social media and the use of the school name, image, and likeness, which is important because we want to keep that the way we want it. We don't want it being distorted for profit by other people. Some issues related to school employees. How to deal with the sensitive materials in the school library and the curriculum. And it was pointed out that basically school libraries are by law to support the school curriculum. And so our decisions are therefore based on that. They also court rulings, there was a special session on that discussing the recent Supreme Court rulings about religion in public schools. Some of you may have heard about the football coach out in the state of Washington and school funding in the state of Maine. And they said that although it didn't affect any of us at this point, we should be aware of them because there might be further changes coming down the road.
Does anyone want to add any additional comments? Marie, anybody? Okay, with that being said, 4.01 Superintendent Report, Mr. Bond.
Thank you very much, President Lumia. Well, as you know, we are quickly ending the summer. And I want to thank the individuals in the audience tonight. I see our administrators, I see some teachers, I see members of the Wappingers Federation of Workers who have worked very diligently this summer in what has been a very tepid summer. And the buildings have been very steamy. And it has been a challenge to make sure that we were able to keep the buildings open and have the air quality be what it needed to be in order to serve the over 1,000 students that participated in summer school activities K through 12. That's the most we've ever had. I believe that based upon the learning loss that occurred during the pandemic, that we are going to be called upon to continue to do these types of programs during the summer. It's a total team effort, and the buildings were in phenomenal condition, and the summer schools went off fantastically. As I walk the buildings, I see floors waxed, looking pristine, painting being completed, and I know there are still 3 weeks left. But the reason for that is the work of a lot of the individuals that are in this room this evening. Drivers, bus drivers, cleaners, custodians, maintenance, we all work together as a team. And because of the efforts of all, we had an extremely successful summer. It would not have been able to have been done without each and every one of our employees, and they are greatly appreciated. So I want to commend them on a job well done, and I can tell the public that we cannot wait until our students arrive back in early September to begin the upcoming 22-23 school year. There have been a number of correspondence that I have sent out over the past couple of weeks, and I cannot say enough how we are looking forward to a regular or normal start of the school year. Masks will not be required, and we are very, very hopeful that we can focus on the important business of education this year, and that we can do that on day one. I know the last couple of years have been a challenge, and due to the support of our staff, our students, and families, we would not have been able to reach the success that we do. We look forward to your continued support as we move forward and what will be an extremely productive and rewarding 22-23 school year. I would also like to draw your attention to individuals this evening who are going to be appointed. We were in executive session completing interviews with administrative candidates, and hopefully the board will approve those. I expect that they will. And then our Director of Human Resources will introduce what I believe will be two highly effective administrators as assistant principals to work at Royce Ketchum High School as well as John Jay High School. That's all I have, President.
Thank you, Superintendent, for those comments. That being 5.01, tax rate presentation, Christian? Roll, Christian.
Good evening, Board of Education. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to prepare or to present the 2022-2023 tax rate presentation to you and to the community. As always, we start with our mission statement. We also want to thank all of you as well as all of my teammates and the senior staff as we work through this presentation and have this information prepared for you in a summary format as best as possible. To understand how tax rates are calculated, there's two pieces. There's the tax levy, that's the amount that's in the property taxes that are approved as part of the budget in May. We have the equalization rates, which are the percentage of full values. They're set by New York State, and they're each driven by municipality. And we have the assessments. That's the valuation of the real property, including exempt properties and whether the properties are subject to valuation. Now, we have heard, we have heard that there have been some adjustments to assessments. That is not something that's done by the district, that is something that's done by each of the towns. And that's based on the value of property, whether it's homestead or non-homestead, meaning residential or commercial. So the 22-23 school tax rates were within the tax cap, the language that we've used over and over and over again. So the tax cap is capped at 2%, and the district was below the tax cap through the budgetary process, meaning that the highest amount that could be levied to the taxpayers was not levied for the 22-23 school year. We met the requirements for STAR refunds through government plans. We continue to have quarterly meetings with municipalities so we can understand where we are with regard to work being done in each of these municipalities. And all of this information is available on our website. In summary, the 22-23 budget was passed by the taxpayers below the cap we were. We were at levy to levy of 0.83. We were allowed to be at 1.33, so we were almost 0.5% below. And we do want to say that as a result of being below the levy and increased state aid, we saw a reduction in the prior year from the prior year's tax rates of approximately 11%. And this is part because of that budget that was passed by the community, and we thank you for your support. When you look at how the budget is built by revenue, you always think of a budget as expenditures, but we have a balanced budget. Therefore, we have to have a revenue side as well, the money that comes in. You'll see that that state aid number, New York State aid, is approximately 29.11%. That is an increase from prior years, as recent as the 21-22 school year, of over 5%. That gave the district the opportunity to have a levy that did not go to the maximum of the tax cap. So how do we calculate these taxes? We take each of the assessor's information, we get that in mid to late July. We apply clergy and firefighter exemptions. They do exist in 22-23 as well. And we also when we receive those assessments, we break them down into homestead and non-homestead, which is commercial and residential. The second piece that we had discussed was the equalization rates. This comes from the New York State Office of Real Property Taxes and basically represents the full value of your taxable property. If you are at 100% in your municipality, what that states is that your market value is equal to your assessed value. Now, we all have seen what the real estate market has looked like over the last couple of years, and it's amazing that in all of the Dutchess County towns, with the exception of LaGrange, they are still at 100%. Wappinger, Poughkeepsie, Fishkill, and East Fishkill. Our two towns in Putnam County have been below 100% for several years. We only have a few parcels in those areas. However, it does show that they are less than 100%. But we have seen minimal changes with regard to these equalization rates over the last several years. So taking the tax levy, which is the amount that's approved by the taxpayers in May, that's the total amount that we are allowed to levy. And we do a calculation, it's pretty in-depth, taking the assessments equalization rates in New York State, and we do the calculation to where we get the rate per thousand. So really on this slide, it shows a lot of information about what was the tax levy before, what is the tax levy for this year, what the increase was. But the important piece of information is in the blue box on the left-hand side. The average homestead or residential home tax rate is $15.54 per thousand in Dutchess County. Again, we pulled the Putnam County pieces out because they're a little bit skewed. Their municipalities are different, or their equalization rates are different. This is $1.29 on average decrease from the 21-22 tax rate. For the non-homestead tax rate, it is approximately $23.28. That does represent a 70-cent increase from 21-22. So what does that mean? If you were to take the valuation of your home, divide it by 1,000, because that tax rate of $15.54 is based on your residential property, and you figure out how many thousands are in the assessed value of your home, and you do that multiplication, that's what your tax bill would be approximately before any exemptions or before any star refunds or rebates. The other piece of information that we look at is what is the taxable assessed values for each of the towns in Dutchess County over the last several years. When the taxable assessed values decrease, that means the property values in those towns are decreasing. So what we have here is a comparison of 2020-2021 through 2022-2023. And if you look on the far right-hand side, you'll see that in the next to last column, the increases are between, with the exception of LaGrange, between 7 and almost 10%, meaning that the assessed values from the 2020 year to the 2021 year increased about 10%. If you look at the final column, you'll see that those increases are significantly higher. We go from 11% at a low to almost 28% in the town of Poughkeepsie. So this shows that the assessed values in those towns have increased significantly. What that means as well is that your personal residences may have received reassessment letters which then say your assessment value has gone up. So even if we have a lower tax rate, your tax bill may not look all that different as a result of the multiple pieces for a tax calculation. So in preparing a budget that was below the tax cap, as well as meeting all of the needs for health and wellness supports for our students and staff, and we have solid property values in our towns in Dutchess County, consistent New York State equalization rates around that 100%, we see minimal increases in those tax levies, and we're able to be below the tax cap. And again, that's in thanks to our community for approving a budget back in May that allowed that to be the case. On our website, we do have the previous presentations and tax rate information if anybody would like to review it. Actually, if you do look at this presentation on the website, you can click right on and it'll bring you right back to those presentations. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions of Ms. Granby? See none? Top 102?
Excuse me, Mr. Mumia, can I just share just one more thing?
Absolutely.
Board members, please see Alberta after the meeting. You all have to sign the warrants for each of the towns. It's very important. Sometimes she needs to make sure that each of you sign 7 times. You'll be a little busy.
Thank you, Christian. Top 102, approval of the 2022-2023 tax rate.
Be it resolved that in accordance with section 1307 of the Real Property Tax Law, the Board of Education on August 15th, 2022 at
8:44 p.m.
8:44 p.m., thank you, does hereby authorize the district clerk to certify to the chief fiscal officer of each town listed below the amount of 2022-2023 school taxes to be levied on the real property located in that portion of the school district. Do I have to read all the different towns?
No, you don't have to read it.
Be it further resolved that the Board of Education does hereby authorize the district clerk on August 15, 2022 at 8:45 p.m. to certify to the chief fiscal officer of each town listed below the amount of town assessors' omitted school taxes to be levied on the real property located in that portion of the school district, to collect taxes in the total sum of $179,699,213, less the STAR reimbursement amount as provided by the appropriate governmental authority, in the same manner that collectors are authorized to collect town and county taxes in accordance with the provisions of section 1318 of the Real Property Tax Law. Be it further resolved that the tax rates for each town per $1,000 of assessed value as follows. That's East Fishkill Homestead 14.84, non-homestead 22.26, Fishkill 14.83, non-homestead 22.27, LaGrange Homestead 18.33, non-homestead 27.28, Poughkeepsie Homestead 14.83, non-homestead 22.34, Wappingers Homestead 14.85, non-homestead 22.23, Phillipstown, Kent 18.61 homestead and non-homestead 26.40, Phillipstown Homestead 37.02 and non-homestead 56.15. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education approve the 2022-2023 true value tax rate for the district at $15.54. The 2022-2023 tax collection dates are September 12th, 2022 through October 11th, 2022, regular collection, October 12th, 2022 to November 1st, 2022, 2% penalty.
Motion. Marie, second. Keith, all those in favor? Unanimous? Unanimous, Mike? Yes. Unanimous. Consent agenda resolutions. Anybody want to remove anything from the consent agenda? All right. Peggy?
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 6.02, 6.03, 6.04, 6.05, 6.06, 6.07, 6.08, 6.09, and 6.10.
Motion. Peggy, second. Marie, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Yes. I'd like to have Ms. Renee Harris making new announcements for the 2 assistant principals, one at Rosie Kitchen High School, as well as John Jay High School.
Thank you, Mr. Lumia. Good evening, everyone. My name is Renee Harris, and I'm the Director of Human Resources, and it's truly an honor and a privilege to stand before you and congratulate, welcome, and recognize 2 members of our administrative team. We have Miss Natalie Cotto with us, who will be our new assistant principal at John Jay High School. And we have Miss Jenna Ferris, who will be a new assistant principal at Royce Ketchum High School. I'd like to recognize Principal Kezalawa and Principal Sipe and our administrative team joining us in the back. And I'd also recognize Angelo Carpenter, who happens to be joining us this evening, will be a new school counselor at Royce C. Ketchum High School as well. Thank you and congratulations, and welcome to Walkers.
Wish you all well. 7.01, designate board members to report on school building tours. Peggy, I've appointed Marie Johnson, Mike McFarland to report. Continue to decide which buildings you want to report on, so I appreciate you volunteering for that job. Okay, 7.02, approval of join the Lower Hudson Education Coalition.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby elect to join the Lower Hudson Education Coalition for the 2022-2023 school year for an annual membership fee of $925. The Lower Hudson Education Coalition's role is to provide legislative information to the member districts and to advocate and communicate with public officials on issues related to legislation and regulations. See the website link.
Motion, Marie, second, Joe. All in favor? Unanimous. 7.03, approval to attend the 2022 Board Officers Academy.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the Board of Education President and Vice President to attend the 2022 Board Officers Academy live virtual session at the cost of $130 total for the registration fee. The session will be viewed at the district office. There will be no reimbursement for travel or meal since this is a virtual event. At this one-day academy, you will learn how to assess the qualities and skills of great leaders, develop a cohesive board team, run an efficient board meeting, interact with the media to communicate your message clearly, and conduct an effective public comment session. Through hands-on experience, mock sessions, and role-playing, you will develop your leadership style, communication skills, and facilitation techniques as you learn a variety of best practices for effective leaders.
Motion, Marie, second. Keith, all those in favor? Unanimous. 2022 Board Officer Academy, live virtual, September 15th, 16th, and so forth. I guess it's. All right, 7.04, adoption of textbooks, K-6 math pilot program.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve adoption of the textbook and instructional resources aligned with the iReady Classroom Mathematics Series for use in a pilot program during the 2022-2023 school year as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction.
Motion, Peggy, second, Marie, discussion, all in favor? You have a question?
Not a question, I've got a comment.
A comment, go
I
ahead.
have a comment. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Cardwell and Mr. Panzer. They loaned me the materials, and Mr. Panzer was great enough to only give me grade 1 because he knew that's where my capabilities were. And I was able to review it, and I had some questions with Dr. Cardwell, and I believe this will be a better, yes, we know, grade 1, I get it. I believe.
How did you do?
Not so good. Mr. Panzer is going to get back to me with my final grade. It's in the computer. But I do believe that based on our use of the iReady with this new program, I think it will help enhance for the teachers. And I look forward to seeing what comes of this down the road. And I can't wait for Dr. Cardwell to report back later in the year. Thank you.
Again, all in favor? Unanimous. 7.05, approval of a new club charter. Good day, Jay.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the new club charter for the Good Day J Club at John Jay Senior High School as submitted.
So moved. All right, John, second. Peggy, all those in favor? Unanimous. 7.06, authorization of Executive Gibbons Lane lease agreement.
Whereas the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District, Board of Education, owns 2 parcels of land consisting of approximately 0.71 acres located at Gibbons Lane, Fishkill, New York. Tax grid number 6156-20-767011 and 6156-20-771025, hereinafter referred to as the property. And whereas the Board of Education previously entered into a lease with the Village of Fishkill Village, pursuant to which the village would construct and maintain improvements on the property and use such property as a public parking lot, the terms of which lease expired on September 30th, 2021. And whereas the lease provided, among other things, that the village would be solely responsible for the improvements and maintenance of such improvements on the property during the term of the lease, and would keep the property insured against liability for personal injury and/or property damage, and indemnify and hold the Board of Education harmless from any liability during the term of the lease. And whereas on February 28, 2022, the Board of Education adopted a resolution authorizing a 20-year extension of the lease with the Village of Fishkill for the property to continue to be used as a public parking lot through and including September 30th, 2041, upon the same terms and conditions as previously agreed to, subject to approval of a separate referendum by the qualified voters of the Wappinger Central School District at its annual meeting, budget vote, and elections scheduled for May 17th, 2022. And whereas on May 17th, 2022, the referendum was approved by the registered voters of the Wappinger Central School with a vote of 4,607 in favor of the referendum and 1,537 votes against. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes the President of the Board of Education to execute the lease agreement.
Motion, Eddie, second. Peggy, all those in favor? Unanimous. 7.07, second reading on adoption of policies.
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby approves the second reading of and adopts the following policies based upon the first reading by the Board and the recommendation of the Policy Committee as stated.
Motion, Peggy, second. Marie, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. 8.01, board members may request any addition to the agenda by any board member. See none. Comments from the public?
Yes.
Board members, this is just directed to Mr. Lumia, nothing personal, but as a taxpayer, as somebody who has attended board meetings, virtual and in person, I would really appreciate if you could use a microphone so we could hear you better. That's the only comment I have. Thank you.
I agree.
I concur.
I'll try to do a better job next time.
Thank you.
I'm Tom Cercione, the WFW president. I want to talk to the board and Dr. Dwight Park, and it's concern of our union members about the jobs that we hear that are going to be outsourced. And we as a group came over here to show our solidarity for our union and also to work with the district so we can improve the membership. Okay, my vice president, Alicia, she came up with an idea, and the union followed it, with a brochure to compete against Orange County and anybody else looking to take bus drivers away from our union and the school district. We figured that we come up with this brochure to support the district in hiring, and we're going to hand it out, give them the benefits of why they should come to the school district, because of their benefits that they would get And with the other companies, they wouldn't have these type of benefits. They're like the medical, dental, vision, legal, nice benefits, 15 paid holidays, 2 personal days and sick time. We as a union came here in solidarity, like I said, and half of our union left because of timers. I've talked to Mr. Lumia and Dr. Bach. We met together, and it looks like we were all on the same page to keep our members and try to get the outside sources out of our district. I just wanted to present the position of the union that we were looking to work with the district, the board, and of course, my union.
Thank you, President Swainstone. I think I've publicly made a statement in regards to my feelings in regards to this, stating that there has been no thinking whatsoever to outsource any of our bus services. As you know, outsourcing bus services is nothing new within the district. A lot of that has to do to the driver shortage that we currently have. I would love to have every one of our bus drivers be a Wappingers employee. I've said that publicly. You and I have talked numerous times in regards to this issue. And at this point, I would like Ms. Crandall to give a historical perspective of where we were when the pandemic started and where we are now as far as outsourcing drivers. This is nothing new. This has happened in the past, and we are working to rectify the issue. So I appreciate the solidarity. I appreciate your assistance in helping to recruit drivers. As you know, we've had buses parked out in front of schools now for 2 years, indicating that we are hiring. And we have had some response from that. But we need more. We need more. So that being said, Ms. Crandall, could you give an update basically as to where we were and where we are now and what our goal is?
Sure.
Thank you.
So we have had a contracted bus situation since at least the 2003-04 school year. There are a handful of bus routes that were done through the BOCES cooperative.
So that has been going on for 18 years.
At least 18 years.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So there are a range of numbers. We go back to 2012, there was actually 26 bus routes that were done by BOCES. And in the past summer, not this summer, the summer before, that's when Orange County Transit took over what was being done by BOCES. We didn't expand those numbers. They stayed exactly the same because the service we were getting from Total Transportation was less than par. So in the 21-22 school year, we had Orange County Transit to assist us with the bus driver shortage, and they had taken over the routes that had been contracted for over almost 20 years. As we enter into this school year, and we were going to have a conversation with you, President Cirincione, to share this information because we're still currently routing. We do not believe we will need to have any routes in addition to those BOCES routes that have been contracted for years this year for Orange County Transit. That's a tribute to the training program. That's a tribute to the bus drivers who are being recruited, coming in with their licenses, and to the existing staff. So we're looking at approximately 14 bus runs that will be the existing runs that we had contracted out through BOCES for years. We will be pretty darn close to the capacity of the number of drivers we're allowed to have, the approved number of positions for the 22-23 school year as we continue the training process that we have in place and the new hires. It's a fluid situation. It's going to change at the moment.
Ms. Crandall, so could you update how many buses we have and how many of them are driven by Wappingers employees?
Well, we have over 260 buses.
Right.
And we have approved 225 positions. And the goal is to have 225 Wappinger Central School District bus drivers. And when that's the case, then we don't need to have the supplement Orange County Transit runs, which we've had to have over the last 2 years due to COVID and due to bus driver shortage. So at this point in time, we're going to share this information with you. We tried to meet with you today. Routing is still happening. So it's not finalized. You have your run pick at the end of the month. But that's where we stand at this point in time.
And I think if you come over to the district office, you'll see there is still quite a few people that are registering as we speak every day. People are coming to the Wappinger Central School District. So you have the commitment from the board and the administration to make this work. I have shared my goal and my vision and the goal and vision of this board. And the fact that somehow it continues to get out in other sources that that's not the intent of this district is absolutely untrue. And I think the good faith that this board and this district has shown in trying to address the issues in terms of having our drivers drive our students, which I have said is what we want since I've been superintendent over 2 years. We are working to that end. So I'm glad that you're here this evening. I'm glad that you developed the brochure because you're going to help us recruit the people that we need to come in and work for the Wappinger Central School District so that our fleet can be 100% Wappinger's employees. I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Did you hear me this time?
I did. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to piggyback on the buses for a second. I'm just wondering, in your hiring, have you decided to increase the number of full-time hires so that you can utilize them for your runs that you need instead of part-time?
As you know, we cannot answer that at this time. You know better than anybody else. It's not a discussion. You can ask that question, maybe they'll get back to you.
Then maybe I can put that little thought in your brains that if
Maybe I can respond to say that we have had discussions in regards to what you're talking about. And as you know, it is a collective bargaining issue and we are currently not in an agreement.
I don't know what your agreement is. I'm not up
Okay.
to speed on that. I'm just putting forth an idea to think, because in order to compete with the rest of the bus companies and their salaries, in order to get Wappinger's drivers, people to come to Wappinger's, you need to be competitive. And you cannot raise a family on part-time. That's all I was bringing forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good to see you, Trustee Schultz.
X. The other thing I was going to just ask, because you know that the district is rumor mongering all over. I have heard on the street that the Board of Education was considering erecting a fence to the tune of 80,000+, maybe 300, I don't know, I've heard a whole bunch of different numbers between Fishkill Plains Garage and the property that's next door. As a taxpayer, I do not want to pay for any homeowner's fence, especially since the bus garage has been there since 1955. That's 67 years, probably longer than before you guys were even born. So
It was before John Rooney was on the board, not using his mic.
maybe John was about 10. But anyway, you know, if I'm also, and when you sell houses and you take out buyers, buyers must do their due diligence. And unfortunately, if they don't, and they get in a position where they buy a property next to a school bus compound, how could you not know you're gonna have noise or even fumes? So I just hope that the board will take that all into consideration as to how long the bus compound has been there. The house has been there since 2016. So that's only 6 years. And in 6 years, it took them 6 years to start really complaining. That kind of leaves me to thinking that there's something else up. And I know my time's up, so I'm gonna stop, but I did wanna say, I would totally be here telling the district to build a fence if the house was there And 6 years down the road, Wappingers plunked down a bus garage. So I just hope you think about it in case that comes up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Make a motion to adjourn? Marie, second. John, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you for coming, everybody. Have a good night.
Don't forget,